the conversation about John Calipari and what happened at the end of the Kentucky Louisville game, because I've seen a lot of criticism for Cal for this, and I think I'm going to come to his defense in this spot. So real quick, it was 3 plays that happened. One of them, 47 seconds left, game is tied. Perfect 2-for-1 situation. Kentucky does not go 2-for-1. They run some false dribble weave action. They don't start their set until about 33 seconds left.
33 seconds, yeah.
They run a ball screen with Devin Askew and Isaiah Jackson, where like Askew comes off and he's supposed to find, like, they run a clear out on one side and get Isaiah Jackson running off of a back screen. And I'm pretty sure the play was designed to be a lob to Jackson over the top for an alley-oop and a dunk. And it was there, but Louisville did a good enough job hard hedging that Askew couldn't make that pass. The second option is they swing it back to BJ Boston. He's got an isolation at the top of the key. He can't go anywhere. They give it back to Askew, and he settles for like a 19-footer off the dribble that obviously was like nowhere near going in. The next play,
least of the foul, right?
Least of the foul. Next possession, foul in a tie game. Next possession in a tie game, there's, I think it was 21 seconds left. And the play that they run is Olivier Sarr dribbling into a dribble handoff on an open, like it's basically an open side ball screen, but instead of a ball screen, it's a dribble handoff for Davion Mintz, who's like your 4th best playmaker off the dribble, but your best spot up shooter. And the play that they get is him coming off and finding Olivier Sarr, like just kind of popping into a 15-footer from the baseline, a shot that like rattles in, almost goes in, doesn't quite go in, and comes out. And then at the end of the game, like they decided to give the ball to Lance Ware 70 feet from the basket and let him like kind of run a fast break.
Yeah.
Camden, by the way, there you go. So he comes out and he found BJ Boston, who got like a wide open look at a 24-footer, which is about the best shot that you could get in that situation. So like, I don't have a huge problem with that one, but the other two, I saw a lot of criticism for, but I'm going to let you have the floor on this one first before I kind of take up for Cal in this spot.
2-for-1, it is what it is. They should have won for the 2-for-1. They didn't. That's done. I'll hold that one against Cal. Everything else, Askew had the ball, handed off to Sarr. Sarr went from that handoff to a handoff ball screen to the guy that's the leading scorer of the game. If watching that game, if the big that's guarding Sarr doesn't stay with Mintz has either a wide open jump shot because this man is trailing him, going above the screen. He either has a wide open jump shot or a one dribble pull up, or can go to the basket, do whatever. He has space, but the big stayed, and it almost like they doubled. So he had to pass the ball to a wide open Olivier Sarr, who, all right, how can I put this? This is why I'm going to rock with Cal in this scenario. And I love what he said after the game. Like I enjoyed his press conference after the game. Granted, they lost the game, and I know he was ticked off, but Sarr hasn't scored a field goal in like 2 games. So it's easy for everybody that's watching the game to just jump on Cal's ass about that. Him having the ball at the end of the game to shoot the game-winning shot. But if I take a look, and I'm a coach, granted, if I'm a coach at a certain point in time, and I have a team full of freshmen who have at one point in time during the season showed me that they are that freshmen. They've shown their inconsistencies. They showed their maturity or immaturity. And I'm not upset with Sarr getting that shot and shooting that shot. Like, I'll live with the guy that's seen more college basketball than the rest of those guys in their team shooting that shot. And I'll stand by that, regardless if he missed it or made it. Because if he made it, like you said in the Notre Dame game, if he made it, we'd be talking about Kentucky fought through and blah, blah, blah. Like, Kentucky had a ton of chances to win this game. Louisville turned the ball over 3 times, did he not? Or 2 times in a row. On the baseline once. They were out of bounds plays, I think. They had their foot out of bounds like 2 times in a row or something like that. Like, they had numerous opportunities to win the game. They didn't. And I can't jump on Cal's back because of this loss. Maybe the 2-for-1, I get it. Like, you need every opportunity to win, especially down that stretch in this game against a rival. But the way the game ended, I couldn't jump on Cal's back. And it actually came to the leadership that we spoke about last show, how he went and defended the guys. Because they're in a scenario now where it's just like they're in the trenches together. Like who's in the foxhole with you? Like now, if they're 1-7, 1-8, whatever the case may be, like everybody's like on their backs right now. Like, yeah, you suck. You need to do this. You need to do that. You should fire him. You should do this. You should do that. Everybody's on his back, on the team's back, talking about the players. The best thing they can do right now is see the leadership, look up and see him coming to the players like aides almost like via, interviews and things like that, and not just like burying the guys and, doing stuff that he was doing prior. I feel like this will kind of help them for in the future of like when they get more into more SEC play and stuff like that. That kind of talk. Like I feel like he showed a little bit better leadership than you would say like a week before.
Yeah. Yeah, no, he did. So my thing with it, like with the 2-for-1, I understand why Cal didn't do it, because I think to be able to operate that correctly, one, you got to have a point guard that you trust to be able to go get a good shot.
Yes, thank
in a quick
you.
moment.
Yeah.
And he does not have a point guard that he trusts to be able to go get a good quick shot in that moment. And two, like that's the kind of thing where you like for people that have never played in a basketball program, in a basketball team, like basically what happens is like for the most of practice, like you're doing shell drill type shit, and then you're preparing for your next team's games, and you're doing like 5-on-0, running your offense to make sure everybody gets it, and then you're doing like half court stuff where you're running these sets to kind of get these different get these different actions or install a different counter, all these like just random stuff where you're just trying to figure out exactly how you want to run stuff and improve your execution. But what happens normally, like the last 15, 20, 30 minutes of every practice for every team on the planet Earth is you do special situation stuff, right? It's like, okay, we're down by 4 with 17 seconds left. We're going to have our first team right here. Our second team is going to play against them, and they're going to try to come back and win. And we're going to work on what you have to do to be able to make that happen. Or you do things like where we have 47 seconds on the clock. We're in a tie game. We're on the road. How do we make sure that we get 2 shots and 2 possessions? They only get 1. Now, for Cal, because he has a completely new team where there is no holdover factor, they have to start everything from scratch. Everything that they install, every defense, every offense, every call, everything that they do is starting from scratch.
Whose fault is that?
No, it is. That's
what I say. Like this is a recurring thing because we get the freshmen to come in on the dream of NBA quickly, and then you get them in, and then you get them out, and then you get them in, and you get them out. So, like I don't know. Like whose fault is that?
I agree with you, but the difference is that this year, when you don't have the offseason to kind of get ready, and you don't have the chance to be able to allow them to bond and do team bonding stuff and be able to learn each other and playing pickup. Like it's a very different year this year where he has to do all of that stuff once practice starts, and he has to use practice time to be able to do the things that you normally would be able to do, because like guys aren't even allowed to hang out. Like they're not even allowed to have team dinners where they sit next to each other. So there's a lot, like you don't know each other as well. So you have to use some of that practice time to be able to do it. So I understand why maybe they're not getting the kind of reps in special situations. So like the 2-for-1, I don't know if Cal is like analytically savvy enough to be able to understand that's something that he has to do, which we can get into. But I don't think in that specific situation it's necessarily the wrong decision for him to make. Now, for the jumper, the jumper that Sar got, like think about it like this, man. Terrence Clark is injured. He's not, he like, I think he played 16 minutes in that game. He's got a sprained ankle. Maybe. He was not himself. Yeah. BJ Boston has not looked right for a month. Devin Askew, like he just fucked up a pick and roll. He couldn't get the ball to Isaiah Jackson.
Like play before.
Yeah. And so what do you do? Like, I understand Davian Mintz is not necessarily the guy you want coming off of that ball screen, but who else are you giving a ball to in that
Exactly.
spot? And they ended up getting a shot. Like, I know all of like the stat people are going to be like, yeah, 15-footers, mid-range jumpers. That's not necessarily what you want. Blah, 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 blah. Well, I'll tell you what.
Shut up.
That is that's over the course of a game, of a season, of a career. Like that's how you, in the long term, you're right. In the short term, in one specific possession, like that might be the best shot that you can get, right? That's why, like I've always said, you can't just eliminate the mid-range, because there are times where on a specific possession, that is the best shot you can get. Now, over the long term, you don't want to have to rely on making
exactly
range jumpers to win games like over the course of 40 minutes. But in one specific possession, if you have Olivier Sarr stepping into like a wide, but he wasn't wide open, but stepping into an open 15-footer, a shot that he can make, like there are much, much worse shots that you can get in that spot. And I have no problem. I have no problem with him taking that shot and given everything else is going on. Like that's far from the biggest issue. Now, my thing with Cal, and where I think he deserves the most criticism as a coach is his utter refusal to add shooters to a roster, and the fact that he his playbook is one of the most basic playbooks in college basketball. Like they run the same like 5 or 6 plays over and over again. They just find the one that works and just keep going to it and just stop. They never stop. You know, when they had like Jamal Murray, like they just ran him off of those baseline screens nonstop. And for the entire SEC season, he was averaging like 20 something a game because Cal found something that works and he just kept hammering away at it until someone could stop it. And no one could. Problem is this year, like one, none of that stuff is going to work. They don't have those guys. And two, when you have a team that's kind of built around overall, just in general, when it comes to Kentucky, when you have a team that's built around big guys, but you don't have that Karl Towns or that Anthony Davis, like it kind of hampers you when you don't have the shooting or the spacing. So I just, at some point, like the place that I would criticize Cal is his inability to adapt to what modern basketball is and has become over the course of the last 4 or 5, 6 years or whatever it is.
That's a lot of coaches too. So yeah. So join the list, big dog.
Yeah. And also,
I wouldn't even argue with you on that one. That's spot on almost.
And when you look at some of the shooters that have come out of the state of Kentucky, whether it is Justin Powell at Auburn, whether it is Adam Kunkel at Xavier, whether it is CJ Frederick at Iowa, whether it is Dante Allen, the kid that they got on their bench that averaged 43 a game when he was a senior in high school, you know, at some point you kind of got to say like, okay, maybe we need to add some of these role players that can just make shots. Because sometimes having guys that can just make shots is really valuable on a basketball.
Exactly. Garner some respect there. I mean, I feel bad for him right now. They're getting a head kicked in.
Yeah, and so I think we mostly kind of summed up what we needed to sum up. But like this idea, I've seen some people in Kentucky circles floating that Coach Cal needs to be fired.
That's dumb.
And I could not possibly or more vehemently disagree with that. I think it is a horrible take to have, and I think is really, really short-sighted in terms of what is just the weirdest year that any single person alive right now has ever experienced. So I think that's very dumb to think that way. But if you're going to get rid of him, it is because his inability to adapt has kind of limited what their ceiling can be overall. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I understand that. They people in Kentucky might want to like just their mouths closed and not wish that had happened. I mean, I don't know who they would get, but the thing about Cal has a system in a sense that works when he has the right players, and I've seen him with the right players more than I haven't seen him with the right players. So that would be a bad loss for Kentucky, especially since they've been doing so well the past decade.
Since he got there.
Since he got there. That'd be a pretty big mistake so quickly to make that decision so quickly, or to wish it or put it out in the air. Period. Because I remember those times where they didn't have them and they had Gillespie for a little bit. They weren't too happy. I was in college when that like. I was in college around that time. They weren't too happy around those times. So when they got Calipari, they cheered and they were grateful. So don't forget those times.
Oh, Billy Clyde. He is